Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Splatoon! Last time we covered the event known as Splatfest. And in this episode we are going to begin covering the online multiplayer aspects of the game. So first and foremost we're going to get the regular battle, the only regular battle portion of the online multiplayer out of the way, and that is Turf War. Players must ink the most turf to win the match, and obviously they're split into two teams of 4. So, a bit of history. First, before I actually get into this, I should mention how these videos are going to work. So, you'll be seeing footage I compiled with special thanks to LaterGator to you for joining me, for capturing this footage. I will leave a link down below to him. So, basically, you're going to see footage of me doing all of this stuff. I'm going to go over the history of the mode, if there is any, the description of what the mode entails, the strategies, and a little bit of trivia to boot, and then I will give personal rankings of all of the stages for this respective mode. So, yeah, with that out of the way, how about we get started with a bit of history about Turf War. So, Turf War was revealed during the E3 2014 announcement of Splatoon. In fact, it was the only complete mode for people to test out at the time, as only 10% of the game overall was completed at that point in time. So, something a little bit interesting to note. But anyway, the description of Turf War is that up to 8 people play, 2 teams of 4, and they're assigned their own random ink color. The ink color is chosen at random. It could be, well, there's a set amount of ink colors, but it's random every time, usually. The main objective is for each team to cover as much of the stage as possible, displayed on the overhead turf map on the Wii U gamepad. Players may attempt to splat each other, I should say, to temporarily avoid resistance or for defense. Each team has 3 minutes to spread their ink across a stage. After the timer reaches 0, Judd will calculate how much of a stage was covered by each of the teams. And the team with the highest percentage of turf covered will win each round. A bonus 1,000 points and 300 points before the final Splatfest is awarded to the winning team. So, Judd. You may be wondering, scratching your head like, Judd? Who's Judd? Well, if you remember the hero mode, the Octo Valley campaign, there were certain depictions of a cat during part of the Sunken Scrolls, a couple of them, about a handful of them. Well, that's Judd, and Judd is very old, and now he spends his time refereeing the online multiplayer matches. You also saw him in the Splatfest video as well. So, yeah, that's Judd, and he can be a jerk sometimes, because when we get to the trivia, you'll find out why. But yeah, so now on to the strategies of Turf War. Players should mainly splatter ink on horizontal surfaces, so the ground, as walls and other vertical surfaces do not add to the team's overall score. Now, there are certain maps that fall under a category where spraying the walls will get you to a higher vantage point and get to higher places, so yeah, you want to use the spraying on the walls really for getting a higher advantage. And also it allows players to spray ink further, especially when you use weapons such as chargers and, right, just chargers and the splatter shots and, like, basically splatter scope, I think is one's called. Anyway, moving stage elements such as the spinning platforms in Museum de Alfonsino and the conveyor belts in Piranha Pit are also scored at as they appear at the end of the match. So you want to cover elements like that, but walls will definitely not count. A quick way to see which team is currently in the lead are the squid icons that appear at the very top of the screen, as well as displaying the status of the player, whether it be active, splatted, or disconnected, or not present at all. If one team is at least 10% ahead of the other team, the losing team, their squid icons will appear larger, and if the losing team is 10% or more behind in ink coverage, then a danger icon will appear next to their corresponding squid icons. So that's basically the strategy for Turf War. And now on to a bit of trivia. The spawn points are automatically covered in each team's ink, making the minimum score approximately 0.3%. If neither team sprays any ink, the final score will be either 0.3 or 0.4%. Now, this also comes into a play with another trivia factoid. If a turf war ends in a tie, whether it be not spraying ink at all and leaving it up to fate, or if somehow both teams manage to spray the exact amount of ink, 0.1% will be randomly added to one team, and therefore a tie is completely impossible. There's footage all over the internet, and unfortunately I didn't bother to talk to LaterGator to you about showing this off during this recording session that we did, but there are videos out there where two teams just squid jump around in Salt Spray Rig, I think. Or, well, it can be other map, but the one I saw is, the most popular one that I saw is one in Salt Spray Rig, where both teams are squid jumping in the very back area, and Judd scores, like, it's very slow, the score thing is very slow, 0.1% for each team, it goes very slow, and then Judd just randomly chooses to give 0.2% to another team, therefore making a score with 0 ink being sprayed, 0.3 for the winning team and 0.1 for the losing team. Very jerkish is Judd at random points during Splatoon. Well, basically when you do the tie and you just fool around and you don't even spraying. But anyway, now on to my personal rankings for each of these maps as far as Turf War goes. I would give thought-out explanations to these, but there are probably a couple people that will agree with my rankings just because of, you know, different circumstances. There we go. Trying to find the word there. So I'm going to go in the order of release of each of the maps when they were released. Obviously, the first few were released immediately with the game. So those kind of maps I have more experience with. Therefore, they will be ranked a little higher than some. So here we go. Personal rankings for each of the maps on Turf War. Arrow on 'em All, 4 out of 5. Blackbelly Skate Park, 4 out of 5. Salt Spray Rig, 3 out of 5. Urchin Underpass, the original, 1.0, I would give a 4 out of 5. The version 2.0 that we see today, 3.5. Walleye Warehouse, 5 out of 5. Port Mackerel, 3 out of 5. Kelp Dome, 3 out of 5. Bluefin Depot, 3 out of 5. Moray Towers, 1 out of 5. Camp Triggerfish, 4 out of 5. Flounder Heights, 4 out of 5. Hammerhead Bridge, 2 out of 5. Museum de Alfonsino, 3 out of 5. Mahi Mahi Resort, 2 out of 5. Piranha Pit, 3 out of 5. And Anchovy Games, 3 out of 5. So those are my personal rankings for each of the maps with my experience with them in Turf War, and that does it, in fact, completely for this video of Splatoon. So once again, a special thank you to LaterGator to you for joining me for recording the gameplay footage that you were seeing during my rambling of how Turf War works and my rankings and all that. So check him out if you must. Well, I recommend you do check him out, but if you have the time, make sure you check him out. So yeah, with that, that is going to do it for this episode of Splatoon. Next time, we will be taking a look at Splat Zones. So with that, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.